Lay back and relax. It's time for Lay Back with Betfair with the usual crew, the greatest minds in the business, Jules, Vallance, Reece, Goodwin. Great to be with you guys for another huge weekend of racing, Group 1s around Australia, Sydney and Melbourne. Jules, I welcome you in. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Tommy. Good, Reece, to see you again. It's a big 2 states. We've got plenty of horses. They're running. I think there's a few horses that were going to be running in Melbourne and now going to Sydney. I know, I just wanted to poke the bear.
Upset him already.
Poke it to begin
30
with.
seconds into it.
But that's what happens when we have these 2 states with the big prize money. That's what's going to happen. So we've got to get used to that. Hopefully they come out at some stage. We can work out our maps.
Correct. There's a key horse running in a couple of races. It's the only speed of the race. How are you, mate?
Yep, good. Great to be back after an up week last week. So there's a bit of vibe about us. You know, we've had a good week, so hopefully we can back it up. We've set a high standard now, but great to be back.
We have. We found plenty of winners last week, and I won't go through them all. We haven't got that long on the show, but I can tell.
Very good.
I can tell you, profit on turnover last week from our tips. Someone at the Betfair office did the stats. 129% profit on turnover last week, so 33% strike rate. None of our lays won, so we did well. Well done.
We won't worry about the stats the weeks before.
No, we just announce when we win.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Why not?
Forget
Love
it.
I love it.
Why not? You mentioned dual acceptors and perfect segue into the lay-in. Programming, constant discussion about racing programming. But we've got the Black Opal on Sunday. We've got the Magic Night and the Pango Pango. Is it Pango Pango or Pago Pago?
I think it's Pango Pango.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pronounced Pago Pago.
Yeah, the spelling is
Contentious
obviously
issue.
Pago Pago, but I think originally it was Pango Pango.
Yeah, so we've got the Black Opal, those 2 races combined. So there's a plethora of dual acceptors or dual noms into the Black Opal on Sunday at Canberra. We've got the Kembla Grange Classic.
That's tomorrow, is it?
That's Friday, yes. Yeah. We've got the Farlap and the CUNY, all for the mares, the fillies. So there's Pavitra is one of those. It's dual accepting both.
I did. Sorry to interrupt. I saw her on the way. She was scratched from Melbourne.
Yes, so she's coming. I think she was running Canberra, but dual accepted her. So doing the form Wednesday night, you have no idea where these horses are running. She's key to speed. Then you've got Canberra Cup, Australian Cup Prelude, the Sky High as well. It's just horses accepted all over the country and across 3 days in 4 different venues, and who knows? It's hard to do the form early, Jules.
Yeah, it is. I suppose it's good for the owners and connections because they get to choose what the best race is. They can actually dual accept it wherever they want. They get to pick the eyes out of it.
Call you and find out what
please.
The problem is, if you've got a back marker, you want Pavitra to run potentially because she'll set a bit of speed on, but you don't know which way she's running, so they're waiting for her to scratch.
Can't make a decision.
And everyone's waiting till the last minute, and it hurts us.
Yep.
So you've put that in the lay bin. Have you got a solution for it?
Less races, more potentially. Just fix
okay.
the programming, like a national approach to programming, I would have thought.
enough.
We don't need 2 3-year-old fillies races over a mile.
So it's the same argument as last week with the 2.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, which Jules loved. But
No.
Did you find the winner?
Who won it? I can't remember.
Gee,
No,
7 days.
absolutely not.
Nearly 7 days ago. Don't worry about that.
Nah.
Stop looking in the past.
Too many
Worry
winners
about the
since
future.
then.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Jules, you go now.
Yeah, look, I got a tap on the shoulder from the Betfair crew saying I actually had to be more serious with this, Tommy.
No, you did not.
I did, mate.
Who said that?
I can't tell you. I can't.
That is
mate,
not true.
Loose lips sink ships.
Don't kiss and tell.
Your lay bins are the highlight of this show.
I'm worried for the show then. The Super Saturday. It's standard Saturday. Let's not beat around the bush. So last year, 8 black types, 1 handicap.
Yep.
This year, 5 black types, 3 handicaps, and 1 benchmark 80 on your big day at Flemington. I understand why it's doing because it moves obviously the Australia Cup to 2 weeks' time, and you can then charge a Super Premier meeting, and you're going to get a lot more turnover. But the old days of Super Saturday are no longer.
True. Just rename it Average Saturday.
Standard Saturday, my friend.
Standard Saturday. You got anything for us?
No, I got no issues in life, mate.
Flying.
We know you've got a lot of issues in life. You just don't want to air them publicly.
We don't have enough time. Let's go with that.
Just one thing I've noticed creeping in as well, length of these race names.
Oh yeah, I
they-
see that on
that's
the
a good
run
one.
sheet.
It
There's
is a
some
good one.
it's neither here nor there.
That
It
is a
doesn't
good
really
one.
bother me, but they're just ridiculous.
So usually it's the longer the length of it, then it ends up with like benchmark 58.
Yeah.
they're
So
trying to not let you see
extend
that.
it. The eat well, healthy diet. Try it. Ballarat benchmark 58.
Kembla Stayers Cup, Asset Professional Services, Kembla Grange Stayers Cup, benchmark 68, handicap 2,400 metres.
Has Betfair got one? Because that'd be great, short, and sharp.
What?
Betfair Handicap.
Yeah,
Is there something
we
there?
should. No, we should actually.
Yeah.
Should
Well,
take
there you
over
go.
that
That's a good
Kimberley
one.
Grown
Call it
Chase.
Layback with Betfair.
There you
There
go.
we go. Keep it short and sharp.
That's right. What would it benchmark 58? I would have thought.
Well, the
Laid
show
back
is.
Is there any 52s?
Too long Sunday.
There you go.
52.
Picnic meeting.
You'd know.
Oh, God. We're hooking in here, aren't we? Righto.
There's some of your issues. You'll come up with a strong lay bid after that next week. Very good. Let's head to Flemington. Let's get to some serious stuff. It is standard Saturday for Jules. Group 1 Newmarket isn't a standard race, though. That is a great rendition of the wonderful sprint race. It's down the Flemington Straight. I can't wait to get stuck into it. We'll start with you, Jules, on how the track's going to play and what are you thinking down the straight, particularly for the Newmarket?
Yeah, so we've sort of built this profile that we know middle to wide gates is where, the market gravitates towards, and that's where the horses seem to be. When you've got big fields, and we saw that last week, and I know that Kalos won from the inside last week as well, but that was a smaller field. When we get these bigger fields, that's what it thinks. But we are out 4 metres
And
on
look at
Saturday.
last year.
Well, that's what I was going to
Yeah,
ask.
so-
Have you got like a profile on what was heading into that last year?
Yeah, I've got a profile on most things, but
So like how the track had been playing, and then all of a sudden we got to Newmarket last year.
Well,
and
when the rail comes out further, out to 4 metres, it evens right back up.
okay.
So inside gates, I'm not too concerned about. And I know there's a major player in it that's drawn gate 2 that people will probably immediately when they saw it went, it's got none. But I don't think that is probably the case. I think it evens right back up when we get out to say out 4 metres plus. So if you are on a horse that's drawn inside in the Newmarket, I wouldn't be too concerned. I don't know if that's going to get you beat, and I don't think the market's going to spit it out. Compare it to if the rail was in the true, where I think they do. So I think it's going to be pretty fair, to be honest, for that and the circle as well. I think pretty fair. Southerly wind, maybe the leaders get more of a chance.
We'll talk a bit more about, you mentioned Private Eye, drawn barrier 2. We'll talk about that coming up in the race because I can't wait to dissect the map of the Newmarket. It's going to be really interesting. But let's head to race 3, the CUNY Stakes. And this is one of the races where half the field are potentially running elsewhere. Pavitra's out. Dual acceptors galore. Because of that, I found it very hard. I was pretty keen Pavitra. Which way, Jules? You can start.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was really tough. You got all these different form lines with Shuffle Dancer, who was really good at last start off 35 days, but she's been up for a long time, so you got to trust the camp there. I thought Wollombi was a really good performance when it beat See You in Heaven, and I think See You in Heaven probably starts favourite in this race if it didn't go to the paddock.
Yeah. Brilliant sectionals. Ran the fastest
amazing,
4
wasn't
the race. The last 200 or 400 was 8th fastest of the meeting. The race rated really well.
Yeah,
Got
and
to
I
be in the
think
mix.
a bit of the narrative around after that race was the race didn't go good because it was a horse that came from the provincials, New South Wales, and people wanted to just rubbish it.
Yeah.
But the numbers don't lie with that, and the clock doesn't lie. So it's a undeniable chance. And I really like the performance. Like I think Revolutionary Miss probably brings the right form line from that Group 1 last start where it was pretty good. Yeah, it was a bunch finish, but I actually thought that rated pretty well as well.
She's also in a Rose Hill.
So there you go. So yeah,
she draw
exactly.
was it
Not wide, I think,
Yeah,
from memory.
so-
Yeah. So she
Yeah.
might be here, but...
I didn't want to play, to be honest.
Yeah, didn't want to play either. I thought, as Jules said, Revolutionary Miss, she's the right form lines.
Yes.
She'll get the right run from gate 1 if you throw in Secret into this type of field. I know it's 1600, obviously different, but and then her one go at 1600, she ran second. It was on a heavy 10, so that to me
Tells me she gets the distance.
yeah,
though.
correct. It's only
Yeah.
harder. So I thought Zara. We've spoken
And
about
that's the
Zara
yeah.
betting on
And he was
Snowden's
had the
horses.
one ride on her, and that was
Correct.
in the 1,000 guineas.
Yeah,
So
if you had to go
peak
one
figure.
way, I thought that was her, but
Yeah.
keen to just sort of watch really.
I tend to agree. I've got Revolutionary Miss in the mix, Wollombi in the mix. We haven't mentioned the favourite, Shuffle Dancer. I'm leaning to be against her at the price, and I think we all tend to agree, considering we haven't mentioned her.
Yeah, I think they were probably against her again last time, and she still.
yeah,
defied the odds.
she was sort of well supported at the death, but I've got her bigger than Saturday. So I know she's pretty tight in the market at the moment. We're interested to see what the market does with her late.
Yep, I'm more inclined to be against, as I mentioned. Let's get to race 4, the Group 2 size produce, 1400 metres. Not the strongest 2-year-old race we've seen this season. Interesting race all the same. I'm with Ganbare here. It was pretty plain last start, but just crying out for 1400 metres, this horse. Very good behind Learning to Fly, who's high up in slipper markets prior, and really good late sectionals there. I know he was well beaten, but just loved the way Gamba finished off there. 1400 metres, big track, I think can improve. Tom Kitten, I thought was a big price too. Has that 1300 metre grounding for this 1400 metre race. Was plain on debut down at Flemington, but gets back around the circuit here. I thought it was pretty good last start. So, and then you've got Jibanenko, who was good on a Blue Diamond. That race rated really well.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Jules, about the Blue Diamond rating. You rated through the roof.
Yeah, I've got to go and not through the roof, but pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I think when we look at all these 2-year-olds overall, there's nothing being really, outstanding. And so if those horses are still on a upward progression, I mean, Little Bros was only second up, and there's a couple other horses that were second, third up. Their live chances in the Golden Slipper, usually they fall off the cliff because they've been fifth run, sixth run,
2 grand finals.
and correct, and the Diamond sort of doesn't rate that well. But I think this year, you could definitely be a massive chance in the Diamond, coming from the Diamond, to be a player in the Slipper.
I keep thinking the Slipper winner hasn't run yet.
Well, you're sort of hoping for something, aren't you? Yeah.
Still waiting
Well,
for
Yeah.
it.
it is Invincible runs on Saturday maybe, but I've kind of been waiting for a 2-year-old to put their hand up.
Yeah,
I'm
and sometimes
just
we do
waiting.
that with races. We go, geez, they're not doing anything, anything. Where's something going to come from? And they just don't, and then we just see it, and that's what happens with
it is.
Are
those
the ratings
races.
saying, though, that, like, the Blue Diamond, are they saying that this year's no worse than what we've actually had, but they're just so close together?
I just think it's overall, like we usually go into a Slipper or go into a Diamond with a standout, like the Seapoys and, all those kinds of horses that
So
you
is
sort of
this,
can
this
stamp.
bunch, is this bunch rating below your Seapoys? And
Oh,
that?
absolutely. I mean, I think most
below.
did.
There's
I
no
mean,
standout.
there's just nothing there that you go, okay, that's our top seed. Then there could be a couple of wild cards. It just seems to be, if you get luck in running, you can win it this year.
Yeah. The run in transit's been huge. We've seen Cylinder come out and have leaders back 2 runs in a row and goes into as favourite potentially.
Yeah.
Anything in the size produce for you?
I'm actually laying Dubinenko. Leave me out of a 2-year-old that was unlucky, held up and ran a fast last 200 just because it was held up and probably running past a couple of tired ones. First go 1400, grand final was probably Blue Diamond, so yeah, happy to take that horse on again.
That's a good narrative. Been up a while too.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
had a fair bit of racing. I just, how often do you get caught out by a horse that flashes late just because it was held up? It should be entitled to run on late because it's been held up and the others had free flowing room and they're probably going to get a little bit tired late. So happy to take that horse on at the price.
Good narrative there. Let's move on to the Matron Stakes, 1600 metres, race 5 on the program. You're with Barb Raider by the looks of it, Reece.
Yeah, love the mare. She's and the team too. Jerome Hunter, he just places them so well. His strike rate's through the roof. She was okay first up in that slowly run race. It didn't rate through the roof. Espiona comes through, but I know, knowing Jerome's horses, they're not peaking first up. He has plenty left in the tank. The draw is a little bit awkward, but you got the great Craig Williams on, so I thought,
Great.
yeah, they're great. He's one of the best. He's one of the best. You ask him.
He is one of the.
He'll
I don't
tell
want-
you.
I don't
He'll
wanna ask
give
him.
you a long narrative, but he'll tell you. But
We've
no,
got
I
enough time.
just thought she had, on her best form, I thought she had these covered. Inspirational Girls ratings probably up to her, but first up, want to see there. And then I just thought the others, yes, they're probably a bit fitter. But, I'm banking on her, the class going to the top.
She's drawn that, what some would say, wide and sticky gate, but the way this map, she probably can get across, and
That's
whether
probably
she
what I
sits
needed.
outside Cyril
I had a
O'Meara's.
good look at it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issue with that.
Cool.
It's just what form line do you want
double
to be
bet?
with? Well,
Double down.
Go again.
you do that, mate, absolutely. You can come back with me. It's whether you like the Espiona form line, which obviously Barb Raider comes from, or you like the Anavisto form line, which, was pretty white hot as well. And
Sounds like you don't like Barb Raider.
well, I'm sort of against it a little bit, yeah. To be honest,
but
I'll
I mean
probably be
Jerome.
top price. No, I definitely would not be knocking Jerome. His stats are absolutely phenomenal. I'm with Exalita. 1600 metres you could suggest is probably possibly a knock. But that performance I thought was really good behind a good rating horse in Anavisto, who was outstanding.
She's going to make me
first
look
up.
silly because she was my best last start when the blinkers went on and she missed
Yeah.
it. So no doubt she'll jump
Yeah.
with them
Well,
today.
horses can do that. It's the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
time blinkers now. And
Yeah.
So she's going to make me look silly.
She was
She looked like a
fantastic
genius.
there.
Oh,
She
super.
really was.
She was
And if
super.
you look at that race and you go, okay, can anything else turn? Because there's a few in that race, like El Patroness, Ciro Miss and Elusive Express. Can anything turn the table on it from that?
Definitely
Absolutely not.
And she come around them too. Like,
Yeah, she was
chasing
yeah,
their way out.
Yeah,
Could have run
absolutely.
second for my Quinella there with Anavisto.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Just worrying
And
about
she's a-
herself again.
Yes. No one else is worrying about
Okay,
it.
actually, that's all that matters. She's only third up here too, Exalita, so it's not as if she's deep into the prep. Zara goes on. Map could be a bit sticky, but I just still thought she was the best form
And she
line.
drew horrible in Sydney. I think she drew like 17.
Yeah,
So you'd like to think
they were saying that they would have gone if they'd drawn, say,
Yeah.
inside 8.
Yeah.
They would
So
have a
there you
crack
go.
at it
Yep.
because it probably sits up better. They're a bit worried about it at 1600 metres as well.
She needs a
And I
right
thought
run.
the other one that could be the left field here in this race can be won by those horses right down the middle, is No Secret. I know she's probably hasn't got the class as some of these, but a few of these might be out of form, and when mares get out of form, they get real sour. So No Secret, since those blinkers have gone on, been outstanding, and I was happy to have probably X-Leader and No Secret running for me.
It wasn't terrific form, but the second horse has won since. Soaring Eagle won last week at Pakenham very well, so at least there's some winning form there.
Yeah, no, look, rating pretty well for the class that it is, so it's got to go up again in class, but she's in form, and I love backing mares that are in form.
Different track, Mooney Valley to Flemington. She's done okay at Flemington in the past, but no opinion for me in the Matron Stakes. Found it very tough, typical mares race. One race I'm keen to delve into, and it's probably not the strongest race on paper, but it's an interesting race all the same, is the Australian Cup Prelude 2,000 metres, race 6 on the program. I'll let you kick things off here, Jules.
It's a really interesting race because you've got Right You Are, who's absolutely airborne and has to go up in weight a little bit, so obviously meets horses like Vow and Declare Worth, about 4.5 kilos, but Tao, has just been dominating races, basically. Absolutely. I think the Perth horse is a really interesting horse because I think it's actually got a fair bit of ability. And the market sort of, I think, has missed it a little bit at the moment. I mean, you can tie it in. I'm not one to tie in too much form from preps earlier, but it did knock off Steinem at the end of prep last and comes up first up, I think, off about 76 days and wins leading, so it controls tempo. Maricino, I'm obviously speaking of. And then you've got these other horses like Emissary that are coming out of this really brutal fast run race. Are they going to have the flat one second up and then peak third up? So I just found it a really tricky race. I didn't really want to play too much into it. I think it's going to be a great learning race. I mean, Tommy, you'd have a great guide on this horse, but I would love to see Yaffert in just like a lower grade race because I think it's screaming to win a race, and I think it can win a race. It wouldn't surprise me if it even ran a bottler here. That's the kind of race it is, but I just can't wait to see Yaffert probably in a race that's just a tinchy bit lower.
I agree. He was weight for age last start, all fell off the weights, and that was the race that the leader saddle slipped and really brutal tempo, and it probably hurt the campaign of Yaffert, to be honest. We were thinking it would be a slowly run race, a bit of a trial almost, and set him up for some bigger races. But I thought he was fantastic there. He meets these better at the weights, which is fantastic. He was only beaten 4.2. He steps up away from weight for age now, which is good, back to the set weights. I think he's suited. I think he can run well, hopefully settle a bit closer. I give Regal Power a chance here. I might be crazy, but new stable now. Well, I'm crazy.
Interesting.
Tongue tie on, blinkers on, new stable. Ran really well in the Lawrence Stakes. Ran fourth at Caulfield first up, 1,400 metres. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs well. I think Emissary was okay first up. We'll take a lot of benefit from that in the same race as Yaffert. And I was almost against Right You Are the favourite, just the 4.5 kilo weight swing. I know probably Vow and Declare is probably worse stepping back in trip than Right You Are. That probably favours Right You Are back from the 2,100 last start at 2,000. But yeah, I could make a case for Regal Power at a price there.
No strong opinion for me. More so because I didn't really like too many of them, to be honest. But Maricino I thought was a interesting one, but didn't know a lot about being from WA. But I like that he's only had the one run. He's not at the end of a prep after a long trip over to WA. As you mentioned, the Steinem form, that's got to line up because Steinem beat most of these last time. It's going to probably find somewhere near the top. Right You Are is obviously going to be somewhere thereabouts, but I don't think they'll muck around on him. But yeah, not a race I wanted to get too involved in my opinion.
Just quickly, I will say for the punters out there, if there's any market support for Huter, who has been going like an absolute buster, there's no doubting that. But if you go back last prep when it annihilated Zaki in that, like it was stuck to the ground. I mean, dry track, just third up. It's just got to feel that if there's support and got anywhere near its best, it would blow these away from what it did back in that Brisbane Carnival. So just keep an eye on it from a market perspective.
Yeah, you can make a case for most of these runs by the sound of it. Very interesting race. Let's get to the big one. The Group 1 at Newmarket, 1,200 metres, handicap. Big field down the straight, doesn't get much better. Exciting race. We saw last year the fence was clearly superior to the middle of the track. It was a race in two parts. You had the inside fence group and then the middle. And Rocking Horse won at a huge price, actually $130.20 Betfair starting price. So a huge price.
Much traded on that?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but much better than the top tote as well there. So good one for Betfair starting price there. Speed map here. Front page and Snapper, the two leaders, Jules?
Yep, I think so. And we've just got to be careful too when we're up the straight. It's not like a bend. No. If we were at the bend, we're going Snapper and Front page are going to go hard, and this is going to be a real brutal 1,200 metres. For whatever reason, they just like to sit up in that first 500, 600 metres, find their spots. Tommy, you're right. I mean, maybe they do break away and have two divisions. We're not really sure what's going to happen there, as I said, because we think the inside will be okay on Saturday. So there's many different variables with the straight of how we think, yes, we can work out these horses are going to sit on speed, but it might not be that fast a run race. That if you're only 3 lengths first to last, you've got the best turn of foot, you're going to get over the top of them anyway.
Is there a harder track and distance and probably race to have a bet in with confidence down the Flemington Straight? I find it very hard, and a lot of people do find it very hard, just because, as you said, they often are tactical races. The wind comes into it down the straight. You've got generally slowly run races, whereas they obviously bring tactics and turn of foot into the races. Do you find it hard to bet down the straight?
Yeah, it's its own beast.
Yeah.
And usually you can sort of try and rely on horses for courses, that if they've done that before, that they usually do it again. But most horses don't really fail up the straight anyway. There's only very small exceptions to that. It is impossible. It really is. And yet we'll all have a bet on this race because it's the Newmarket Handicap race, and we see it as a value in the race. But many different ways you can cut this one.
Any opinion on the map or anything?
Well, I generally always find that it's the horse with the best turn of foot, really. They get because as Jules said, they sit up. No one's in a jostling for positions, bar getting cover. So it's unlike being around a bend, everyone wants to panic about getting one off the fence or getting across. So there's no panic. Everyone just jumps out, generally finds their lane. They walk the first part, and then it's the horse that's got the best last 600, basically.
Yep.
So
if you can find the horse with the best turn of foot, you'll go well in these sprint races.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So that's all I had to say about that.
What do we make? We mentioned Private Eye Barrier 2. As you said, the fence might not be too bad, Jules, and we saw it last year, was fantastic. My concern with Barrier 2 is if they all come to the fence, he'll need a lot of luck. Whereas if they were down the middle, I would almost prefer them down the middle, because then he can just work and find his lane and actually come in along the inside and get clear galloping room.
I think that's a very good point. And also, when you draw inside, you've got to follow the right horse. So he's got to have the backside of a horse that can get him to a certain point, whether it be the 300 or the 250, that then he can strike when he gets out and gets clear air.
You settle behind Rocking Horse, maybe?
Well, I thought Ballina Bettina from mine.
Yeah?
Yeah, possibly.
She can't be too far away.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not the obvious speed, but she's got...
she'd be ahead of him, you would think, in how they'd map. So that's the perfect horse. Now, that's the perfect scenario, but is that going to happen?
Yeah.
And then is she going for an
Snapper's
inside
in
run?
four.
And then and the problem with that is Snapper going to be coming back into his face? So, as I said, you're right exactly. It's very, very tricky, and it's a tough race.
All right. Who are you with?
I'm with I Wish I Win. I'm with 2. I think I Wish I Win. I marked him around about what the price is. So there's no big spoil. There's no big over for me at the moment. But I just love that Lightning Stakes. I love him on a fast deck. I mean, we saw him in the Golden Gate. His turn of foot is electric. Yes. Moody's now got another prep with him. And I think we saw that in the Lightning, that now he's got some speed in his legs. So we're all thinking, this horse is going to be a 1,600 metre, 2,000 metre horse when Moods first gets him. Now he has him for a prolonged period of time. And I reckon he's just said this horse is going to probably be a sprinter, maybe 1,400 metres max. That could be him.
Considering what he's actually won, do you think, how do you go with the 56.5?
It's an interesting one because someone...
wasn't happy with it?
No. Yeah, no, and...
It's unusual.
Exactly. But you look at it and you go, okay, well, Private Eye won an Epsom in 2021 with 51 kilos and he's got 58.
Yeah.
So it's all relative to how it works. What hurts these horses is probably the 3-year-olds all the way down the weights. They're the ones that probably they're going to have to be most vulnerable against, because I've got no issue with I Wish I Win carrying 56.5 when you've got a horse like the Astrologer's carrying 54.
Yeah, true.
So that sits fine with me. And even when a horse like Private Eye's got 58, that sits fine. I've got no issue with that. It's these 3-year-olds that get that 3 kilo allowance if the handicapper uses to use that whole discretionary. So that's what gets him. But I think his turn of foot's pretty good. I'm trusting that will be an okay part of the track. He gets clear air at the right time. And the other one I think is Buenos Noches, who I thought ran an outstanding Lightning trial for a Newmarket. I thought he was very good in a Coolmore. I think they've got to settle him a little bit closer than what they have as a 3-year-old back in the spring, and he can be right in it. But you can have 5 or 6 goes and still miss here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I thought the Lightning race was the natural lead up into this. I immediately said after that, and I think I heard you speak on SEN as well, I love the run of Buenos Noches in that. I know I Wish I Win went past him, but I love the last 50 to 100 metres there. He really fought on. His last 50 to 100 was as good as anything. Drops sharply in weight for that, meets everything better at the weights from that race. Fitter, loves the straight, can settle closer, perfect draw. $12 I think's a bet there. Buenos noches. You've got to respect I Wish I Win. I was keen to be with Private Eye. A little bit worried about the barrier. He will need luck at the right time, but he's beaten most of these in the past.
Oh, yeah.
So he's a very good horse. I like the approach from Joe Pride. Just set him up, Flemington straight, first up. That's his go. So he won the Gilgai.
Yeah.
Beat all of these in the Gilgai.
Yeah.
Beat Mizzou in the Nature Strip race as well. Loves a firm track, loves a straight. Just the barrier's a bit icky. We haven't even mentioned the favourite in Secret.
I was going to say, we've all dropped off there by me.
Are you on her?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Miguel. Yeah, sticking with Miguel. I'm basically backing in the camp.
You're a loyal man.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. I needed to hear that. No, I'm backing in the camp. I mean, James, he just knows what he's doing. He gets it right so many times.
Yeah.
And he's not going to bring her for this Group 1. Yes, you can say she was a bit disappointing last start, but both times, yep, she's been sticky away. She's drawn low. Felt like she wasn't quite in the best part of the track as to where the winners were coming in that race. First up, she just got there. Second up, you say she had her chance. But I think I just back it in the camp that they brought her here, peaking. She's obviously won it well up the straight before. Jamie gets on, 51.5. I can see why people are against her, but I just back in James that he's not bringing her here to run a nice 5th or 6th or something like that. You know,
Yeah,
he's got them peaking for the right time. They travel horses so often, and they get it right so often.
And yes, she misses the start, but if you ever want one jockey that you put on that you don't think is going to miss the start, Jake Hard will not let this horse miss the start. She's just too good. So I don't think there's any issues with that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, she's an undeniable chance. I've marked her just a little bit bigger than the market. I know some people have got her double figures, and that's fine, each to their own opinion, but I couldn't get her that big. I mean, she's right in this race. There's no doubting that.
Coolmore rating, like, have it right in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, she deserves to be right in the mix, absolutely. So it's just whether people think she's come back as good as what she did in the Coolmore.
And the runs are suggesting not at this stage.
No, not at this stage. Yeah. So she's sort of just been okay, plain, but she now goes third up. You could say this is probably grand final on 51.5 kilos. She's going to be in this race for a long way.
Yeah. You speak about ratings. That first up run, I think Nash Road it was pretty easy on her, I thought. He just did enough she could have won that a lot.
Me.
Yeah. It was actually
she was the best and he scared me.
It was a brilliant ride because
in the end,
she wasn't there to win. It was
almost like James said to look after her.
It's almost like that. Just let her cruise into the race and did her thing, and she won with plenty in hand by the look of it.
He's the best, not strongest rider you've ever seen.
He's very good. I just don't know what to make of the surround run bunch finish. I know potentially wrong part of the track, but bunch finish is always a concern for me, but much better 1200. Buenos Noches meets her 3 kilos better from that Coolmore as well. So if you like In Secret, I think you've got to respect Buenos Noches as well. Anything further to add? Anything we missed?
I mean, we probably missed a few. I mean, we missed that whole Oakley Plate sort of form line where Lofty Strike was really well supported. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So he's pretty. And Star Patrol wasn't too bad either. Absolutely. Yeah, he was very good in the Coolmore as well. So, and he's come back better from the Coolmore into the Autumn. So
this mare I've always had a good opinion of, and she just never seems to win a race. And somehow she won a good race around the Valley. September run. Like she was
ran third in it last.
Correct.
Third
yeah, she ran.
Sorry,
I'm not sure. Yeah, but she's ran 4th to Coolangatta in the.
Well, she ducked up along the inside.
Yeah, and she's always been a great
chance.
straight horse. Never seemed to be able to win up the straight too often, apart from there was one sizzling win. I can't remember what it was, but her last win was at Moonee Valley somehow, and she's always needed luck to go her way.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it's a deep race. You wouldn't think she could win because there's a few others on the way up. But, I mean, she's proved first up that she's still going well.
No, yeah, she can win. I'm going to have a mental health bet on her because I think she's massive price. That's
there you go.
big $31, $34. You've got to have something on her.
Well, I know we could talk about this race for a long
correct.
time. Mizzou's the other one.
Yeah.
Like, this horse is trialing like a star.
That wasn't him wrapping up.
Yeah.
That was just going into another one.
I had a really good judge that I respect messaged me saying Mizzou's the best $16, $20 shot in a Group 1 you've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's a serious racehorse as well.
Yep.
I would have liked the sting out a bit more for.
That's my one thing I reckon is he best on soft? But in saying that, he's still pretty good on this dry ground, but he's going to need to be a ripper to win with 57 kilos, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got that too.
All right, let's push on now. Can you let me do that?
Wrap it up, mate.
Race 8 is the Shaftesbury Avenue Handicap 1400 metres Group 3. you can start, Reece, while you're sipping on your coffee. I thought I'll throw it to
Thanks
you.
for that, mate. Terrific.
That's okay, mate. Yeah, caramel latte. Lay in.
Go on, hook in again. Look, I must admit, I haven't got a great map on this, so I'd have to back Jules in here. But I'm a Visionary fan.
Yes.
You watch his jump out and you think, oh, he was okay, but that's the type of horse he is. He's a big, strong, high-rolling horse. I just love the way he works through the line. Zara trialled him, and he's got 54.5 here, so I'd say that's probably why Zara's not riding him. I don't think he rides that weight, or he's not riding that weight this week. The draw is a little bit tricky for him because he needs to begin well. He needs to be up on top of the speed because, as I said, he's a free-rolling horse, but great fresh record. I think he's won 3 times from 6. I think he's up to the mark. 2,000 metre trials out of that camp would suggest that he's fit enough. And happy to be with him at that price.
I don't have a strong opinion on the race, so I'll let Jules take over here.
Yeah, I'm with Ayrton, and I know he's probably been a bit maligned, but I think he's just a bomb fresh. Like, if you take out, he gets beaten off 106 days by I Wish I Win, last prep, then he wins his other ones, I think, at Caulfield.
It's turned out to be end form.
Correct, exactly. So he just goes best fresh. That's what's obviously his go. They can't get enough work into him to keep him deep into a prep. He regresses. But I love that Jamie on here. I think the map's really good for him. A horse from your map perspective, I think Scolopini rolls forward again from that wide gate, but can probably get across. Not much issue there.
High rolling horse too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's going to be enough tempo for these horses all to get their chance.
Earlswood goes forward.
It's an interesting one. Off 175. So I'm interested to see what they want to do, whether they want to take a sit and see what happens there. But happy to be with Ayrton, and I'm having a play on Not an Option as well because I think it's knocking on the door. Just might need to be a rung lower.
Where's he get to from gate 1?
Yeah, again, tricky, but probably gets 3 back rails, somewhere like that, which I'd like.
Might have the right horses in front of him though
too. Yeah, correct, and get a backside into it. So, tricky race, but I was happy with Ayrton and Not an Option.
Not much from me there to wrap up. We'll get to best bets at Flemington coming up later in the program. It's now time for Bella Anderson's preview.
Thanks, guys. Delighted to be back for another week of layback with Betfair. And what a weekend of racing we have. Super Saturday at Flemington, and it's going to be a super day from the mounting yard as well. Really keen to get involved. I've got a few bets and one lay, and the first one comes up in race 2, What You Need. Really keen to back this galloper. He's currently $1.92 on the Betfair Exchange. I was lucky enough to see this guy parade on debut. His one and only time at the races, and to say I fell in love would be a bit of an understatement. I was absolutely smitten with this colt. He's handsome, he's good looking, he's a box ticker, he's a dude. He has such a captivating presence about him in the mounting yard whilst not being too big, too burly, too full of himself. He's just really chilled. He struts around the mounting yard whilst conserving all of his energy for the race. Physically, he's an absolute beast. He's a beautiful type of horse. He's really well proportioned. He's got strength exactly where he needs it. He's had time out in the paddock to really grow and mature into himself, and I just can't wait to see the manner in which What You Need comes back. The reason why I'm really keen to get involved is the fact that I saw him on debut. It was obviously a first up parade and he didn't have much excess weight on him then. He was really forward fitness wise, so I expect the team to be ready to rock and roll with this galloper first up. He's going to be ready to fire, and I think he's a deserved odds on favourite, and I'm really keen to back What You Need at $1.92. We're then skipping along to the Newmarket. Really keen to get involved here with I Wish I Win, another horse who I loved his first up parade. He returned in terrific manner this time in. He looked simply outstanding. He was nearly at his peak then, and I think today, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. Saturday, he is going to be at his peak and he should be winning this. I think he's come back a new horse this time in. That first up run was outstanding. He looked outstanding, and I think Saturday is going to be no different. So I Wish I Win, currently $4.80. I think he's the one I'm really keen to get involved with in the Newmarket. I think he's going to be a really great winning chance. Race 8. This is where my two-way play is going to come in. I'm really keen to lay Ayrton. So I'm laying Ayrton at $3.45. I just think he's here first up, and although that first up record is simply amazing, winning 4 from 5 and coming second the other run, I think he's racing against hard fit horses. I think it's going to be a really testing race over the 1400 metres, as you'd hope for a Group 3, and I just think his fitness might be telling late, and there are a few other horses that I think are going to have that fitness edge, including Scolopini, Savannah Cloud, Biometric, not an option. Biometric and not an option are two roughies I really like the chances of from a looks point of view. They just need to run up to their looks to be a really good each-way play, but laying Ayrton at 3.45, and I'm backing Scolopini at 5.20. Third up, loves the track and distance, and he is going to be looking outstanding. He's a really lovely type of horse. He's a pleasure to watch around the mounting yard. He's covered in dapples from head to toe. He moves well. He's another one that's a real box ticker in the mounting yard. And third up, he's going to have that fitness edge, and I think at the price, he's a much bigger price than Ayrton. I expect them on the day to start a lot closer. So backing Scolopini, laying Ayrton, and that's it from the mounting yard. Hopefully there's a few winners in there.
Thanks, Bella. Good luck on Saturday there. Time for Rose Hill now, guys. We're not at Randwick.
You're meant to be our Sydney man. How good.
I've done the form. No.
He's done the form for Randwick, so this will be good. Big, spacious track.
I cannot lose here.
Rose Hill, guys. Really good day of racing, as it was last week in Sydney. It's first of 3 Saturdays in a row at Rose Hill. The Slipper coming up in a fortnight, or Saturday week it is. Can't wait for that. Race 2 is the Pango Pango. This is a pretty weak, we sort of talk about the size at Flemington. This is a pretty weak 2-year-old race. I don't think there are any slipper winners here in the Pango Pango or the Pango Pango. Don't confuse you, Reece.
Already.
Mahaba over from Melbourne. What do you make of her, Jules?
Very good.
Him, Jules.
That was a very good performance, wasn't it? Is it good enough to go up in Sydney and beat these? Like I think it's got the rest of most of these covered. Horses like Shinzu and that. I think Mahaba's probably deserves to be where it is in the pecking order. But I sort of plucked one for introducing. I know it was just a Warwick Farm, and you know that people go, oh, now it's going to take a big step
It's that
into
type
this.
of race, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just think it can
Plucked one as
sit
well
on
in the
speed.
market.
Yeah, no, it's actually favourite, isn't it?
Like he was talking about it was 15 to 1 or something.
That's the nature of the
Well,
race.
yeah.
When I started doing the form, I saw Mahaba, I was like, oh, this is a big step up in grade. And then you get to the...
You can see why she was in the
Yeah,
market.
you're like, oh, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
How don't we have a runner in it?
Exactly right.
I think you've got to be on speed at Rose Hill. You'd probably know better than me, Tommy, but I think around circle and shoot, I reckon on speed's probably going to be your
Yes,
default.
definitely. Yep.
With the dry track. So introducing puts itself on speed. I loved its time at Warwick Farm. Last 400, 200, pretty good compared to the rest of the day. Happy to play there. But you know, it was tricky. I'm not going to stamp anything.
Yeah, okay. I agree. Pretty tricky race. Mahaba maybe on top for me, but very little interest there. A race I do have a lot of interest in, and again, we're plagued by dual nominations with the Black Opal here. There's a couple of very, very nice horses engaged, and I wouldn't be surprised, unlike the boys, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these fillies comes out and actually runs very well in the likes of a Slipper or a Percy Sykes or a Size Produce or the big 2-year-old races. This is a great race. I think we somewhat line up here, Reece.
Yeah,
Tis Invincible. No, I need a bit more coffee. No, Tis Invincible. Yeah, I thought, yeah, very interesting. And again, as I always do, I just back in the camp. If Kira Ma and Dave Eustace are happy to throw her in here, then they've obviously got a big opinion of her. She's somehow a relation to Animo.
Half to Animo, $550,000 purchase.
Yeah, that's right. So she's got the breeding to be a top horse. Love the trials, and more so than anything, back in the camp to bring her here. That they've obviously got a pretty big opinion of her. And we were talking before about we're still waiting. We thought we were still seeing the Golden Slipper winner somewhere. Yeah. We hadn't seen it produced yet. So who knows? She could be the one that's just been aimed for this. They'll have one run and go straight into it.
That's been my stance throughout this 2-year-old season, and I did well with the likes of Learning to Fly when they stepped out, and she ran well fresh. I kind of binned the early 2-year-old season form pre-Christmas and been waiting for the fresh horses. Now's the time for me to go again with the likes of Tis Invincible, and I like Tukui Santuza as well. That win was fantastic, taken on. I know the third horse, Untouchable Legend, had a horror run. Probably should be closer in betting, to be honest. Had to do a lot of work there, but this horse, Tukui Santuza, trialled outstanding before that debut win. Looks like a real 1400 metre 2-year-old. She was made to work, and her last 200 again, she fought off her rivals and was really strong late. I love that win. I had a good crack at her there, and I'm sticking with her. I think she's in the mix, and I think Tis Invincible, the half to Anamo's trialling the house down. She's a fresh horse on the scene. She might go to the Black Opal, so wary
we'll keep an eye
of
on
that.
that,
Keep an eye on that as well. But I'm happy to be with those two. Tukri Sentuza and Tis Invincible, Jules.
It's an interesting race. I don't really have an opinion here. It's just going to be fascinating to see what the market does with this Steel City. So, drawn gate 1 again, are they going to be really positive, or are they going to sort of try and just go leaders back? Or
Try again.
Yeah, exactly. Really interesting setup to say, A, what the market does with her and how she actually performs, because I think everyone saw that she was unlucky. Now, whether she wins the race or not, I've got no idea, and it's irrelevant. But
I tipped her, so I'm saying she would have won.
Yeah, she would have bolted in 1v10. So, yeah, just from that perspective, I'm really interested to see. And I sort of hope for the Golden Slipper's sake, there is one of these horses that we haven't seen before, comes out and maybe becomes this big X factor in the big dance.
I've taken Tukri Sentuza and Tis Invincible at big prices for both. If she doesn't run anyway, it doesn't matter. But
Did you get that message?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah,
No,
same,
yeah.
Different group.
It's like when you train winners, mate, and we don't get those
Do I do
messages.
that? Do I? Oh,
Well, apparently.
50s.
just a quick one. Blanc de Blanc. How, like, we thought maybe last run was to lead into the Golden Slipper. They're going again. If they want to be on speed, they're going to have to, we said about the shoot, want to be up on speed. Like, what are we thinking with her? I mean, she's sort of not far away from, learning to fly. I just thought it was an intriguing one that they're going again. Are they still going to the Golden Slipper, or are they just trying to win a race?
So.
You'd think so. I just thought she'd had interesting prep.
It's a really good question, because she was a big drifter last start, and now they've drawn 13.
Yeah.
If they go forward and possibly bust her, you think the Slipper's off the agenda. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like you've got to ride for cover here, be negative neutral, and then finish off if you're fair dinkum about the Slipper. So it is interesting.
She get in?
You'd think on prize money she'd
Yeah,
be in.
that's what
Not
I wasn't sure.
$475,000.
Yeah, I just thought maybe they were
Yeah,
going again because she wasn't.
But that Millennium placing, as you said, might not count.
Might not
She
count.
We
won
thought the
Yeah.
winner
480,
would.
So
Yeah, we were saying that. We were saying the prize money for
Well,
the
that's
winner
what it
might?
used to work when I was
okay.
handicapping. Winner does for those restricted races,
haven't
but
you done?
second and third.
Gee, we learned a lot about this bloke
Oh,
on the show.
well, yeah, we'll
Far
keep it
out.
the tip of the iceberg. We'll just keep it there. It's
So
actually
she
happening
has only
underneath.
won outside of that Millennium placing. She's only won about 100,000. So
Yeah.
maybe she does need
That
more
may be
prize
why
money.
they're going again.
Maybe
They
she
might
does
know
need
that she
yeah.
needs to.
But what a race. You've got, as you said, you've got Blanc de Blanc who's mixed it with learning to fly, who's high up in slipper markets. Fire Lane's beaten cylinders in the past. Steel City could have won a Blue Diamond. Then you've got, and was fantastic behind learning to fly and resistance. So that's top echelon two-year-old form. Then you've got Tukri Sentuza, who's trialled well, won superbly on debut, and you've got a half to Animo down the bottom there.
You'd love to see the first starter just throw.
It would be good.
Wouldn't
It would be good for the Slipper,
Yeah.
I think, narrative, to be
100%,
honest.
yeah.
Let's see that.
Yep, be good for my bank balance. Too.
Yes, correct.
like that.
Which
means
is
anything.
all important.
Opinion.
Let's get to race 5, the Maurice McCartan Stakes, 1100 metres. Jules and I are going head to head here with two horses that competed in a barrier trial recently up against each other. You're with Clemenceau, Jules.
I am. I love it fresh. Gate 9's a little bit of a trick, maybe, but I'm hoping it can roll forward because I think it'll be on speed. I love that this horse is down in the weights. I think,
Yes.
I think that sets up really well. Last year, winner 53.5. I think California Zimbal 54 2 years ago. So I like the profile of this horse. I just think on the min, if he can sit on speed, it might be hard to run down. I've always had a big opinion of this horse, and they've just taken their time with it. I think maybe now the autumn they can really push the button and put it in some really good races.
Colino doesn't or loses J-Mac with that lightweight. J-Mac jumps on a Thelric. I thought a Thelric trialled better than Clemenceau, and that tipped me over the edge with a Thelric on top. I just thought Clemenceau was a bit plain along the inside in that barrier trial. A Thelric, superb in that trial, won the heat. McDonald's on board, love that. Good horse, good fresh record. Nice horse. I think he sets up really well for this. So I'm happy to be with a Thelric on top of Clemenceau there.
No opinion, but I don't want to be negative now. Was it 2 weeks ago you were with Rocketing By?
Yeah, went like a busted.
No interest?
No. Zero.
Just forget,
Yeah.
just off it. Right, I was
Rocketing
just
who?
interested.
Rocketing who?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
it seems
interested,
like-
that's all.
Forgive, he's
Yeah.
not as loyal as you, mate.
No,
Gosh,
but
no.
obviously you were happy to
Gosh,
be
no.
with him for
Yeah.
a reason leading into that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
can
just
you
thought-
forgive one?
No, I just thought
No.
maybe well, the point is I think he might be out of form.
And this is possibly a bit stronger
Yeah,
again too?
well, I think if he got back to the
Okay,
best,
he's up to it.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Well, I'm having
but
something on him then.
Yeah, 59 kilos as well. I just thought
Fair enough.
the better chances I thought would be down in the weights.
Group 2 Far Lap Stakes, not the strongest Far Lap. 5 Colts and Gelding, 6 fillies line up here in this Group 2 over 1,500 metres, although Revolutionary Miss is out, so she's going to Melbourne.
Okay.
By the looks. Zugotcha goes into this race, very short favourite, was fantastic first up. Probably had more room for improvement than the other fillies in that Group 1 last start, and you're with her.
Yeah, I think that the only way you can cut this race is you're either with Zugotcha or you're laying Zugotcha, because there's no other way you can really cut it. And you're thinking that she's going to regress heavily off her first up run. I just can't see where that regression comes from. I just think there's still an upward spiral with this horse. Just for me, the filly, she wins.
She was fantastic, considering the others had that run before her, ahead of her, and she missed that run, and then first up in us around at 1,400 metres. To be in the finish was outstanding. Yep. I think she's the horse to beat, clearly. I think the filly's probably better than the boys.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, boys. Yeah, you can't go around her.
Well, you're within secret in the Coolmore, so you got to track back that form in.
Oh, look, I'm not a $1.70 man, but yeah, you can't go around her.
Cool Die. I don't know, another Jules said, I don't know if it's going to be here, but she's a filly on the up.
Has she got no rider at Sydney?
She hasn't got a rider in Sydney, so I doubt she's
you would
here.
imagine. Yeah.
A lot more love, I thought was very plain last start, but I've been crying out for this. What's that?
No, don't bring it up. I was with you. We were together first up.
Yeah.
You happened to miss the show when she was second up, and I had to tip her. And
you had to tip her.
Well, no, I just kept. I
feel like he does. It's like he's
loyal. He's too loyal.
I am. I'm a loyal man. I feel like I'm training him. I can't just send it off to another trainer if I'm bad run. So.
All right, 2,000 metres, Sky High Stakes, race 7 on the program, a Group 3. I found this a good betting race, to be honest, and I don't know if you two agree or disagree or don't have a strong opinion, Reece?
Yeah, not a strong opinion because I don't have a good handle on the Sydney form, but as I always generally do is go with the horses that are a bit fitter, and King Frankel, he's flying at the moment. I just haven't had a great look at the race, so probably best off throwing a Jules.
Yep.
No, I was just in big trouble because I just didn't know enough about Protagonist. So that was the one where I was like, I'd love to know either way whether I can get rid of it or I can be really hard with it, because I think Sunshine in Paris...
Sunshine Rising?
Sorry. Sunshine Rising was enormous when it went to Melbourne. That Hong Kong form, obviously the market wanted to be with it. Just got into an awful spot. It was in a different suburb, to be honest. And now it's pretty well suited again, set weight and penalties. It gets in really well with its high handicap rating. That I reckon the market will probably be with it again. And I know King Frankel was really good first up, but maybe it regresses a little bit out of that fast run race, whereas Sunshine Rising sets up perfectly. But I just didn't know what to do with Protagonist, so I was just confused.
You got to respect J-Mac too going on.
And the camp as
surely
well.
they probably lined him up, a few weeks out to say this horse is going pretty well.
Yeah,
I'd imagine. That's my guess. Anyway.
Why not back both, Jules?
Well, there you go.
That's my
because you got the hole there with King Frankel. Really, you can.
I'm more against King Frankel than with him, so I think he's too short. This is a steep rising class. I think Protagonist world-class form. J-Mac on board's a huge positive. I've had something on Protagonist in a race like the Ranvet.
Okay.
I think can run well in Queen Elizabeth too. Animo not going to the Ranvet as well, so there's a good push for Protagonist at a big price in the Ranvet. Have heard a sneaky report of the trainers too of Protagonist, and this horse is going very well. Right. So happy to have something. J-Mac on is a huge positive for me. That's a sign that this horse is here to run world-class form, as I said. As you said, Sunshine Rising, fastest final 200 metres last start, 6 weeks between runs, sets up really well. Don't want to lose if Sunshine Rising wins. Horse is going really well, so happy to be on both of those, guys.
Yep.
Let's get to the Group 1, the Coolmore Classic. Fantastic race this, really good race. Anna Visto looks set to go into the race. Close enough to favourite here. Reece?
Look, not betting. Terribly open race. Interesting Espiona. Straight back to Sydney after winning
that is
Melbourne way.
Bizarre.
Yeah, look.
Melbourne way of
you would have
going.
thought they'd stayed, but again, I'm going to back Chris Waller in. If he thinks he's still got it going well Sydney way, then you back it in. Mickey D, good rider for her because she can get in and can get out. He's really good, the stick in both hands. Ruthless Damo's on last start. She can obviously run really well again. But yeah, terribly open race. I'm just going to stay away. Yeah, we try not to talk about that too much.
I'll bring it up again. I think we're laying the same horse, Jules.
Yeah, hope in your heart. Like, I know that it's got a brilliant, track record, but I just can't see how at those kind of weights with 56 kilos, it beats an Anavisto, a Hinged, and then you got the 3-year-old fillies who are got
Yearning
weight
meets
off
her
it.
6 kilos better at the weights.
Yeah, and there you go. And
twice
Yearning
the
as well.
price or something.
Yeah, who's a Group 1 winner who obviously won the 1,000 guineas an eon ago. But yeah, for me, that was how I was playing the race. I found it tricky to really zero in on one or two I wanted to back because I could have 3 or 4 bets. But I thought Hope in Your Heart was the one that if I could get some money out of it at an early price, I think it drifts, but let's try and get it, early doors.
I agree. I'm laying Hope in Your Heart here as well in the Coolmore Classic. I think Anavisto's a great bet. I love the jockey booking. I don't mind the wide barrier. You're getting probably a premium price because of that wide barrier, but Nash will just send her across. She can settle outside lead or take control.
Her and Hinge, they're probably the two from out wide.
I forgot Expat, probably the other one that kicks up. Yeah. So I reckon Anavisto can settle outside Expat, control the race with Nash on. He's so good at that, and I think she's clearly the horse to beat. I think Ruthless Dame's a danger. Again, against Hope in Your Heart in that Yearning form, bunch finish. Yearning meets Hope in Your Heart 6 kilos better. A couple of internationals that I could spec because I don't think the fillies and mares are that good here in Australia. Purple Pay and Times Square, both really interesting horses. I just want to mention them. I don't want to lose if they win. I'll be having them in multiples or quaddies or whatnot. So
You would probably guess that there's some bigger targets in store though. Like they'd just be happy to see them.
yeah,
well.
potentially.
So do you think one of them could win?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Just $26 or something like that.
Yeah,
or
don't have to have
big
much on, do you?
prices. No, I just don't want to lose if they win. I don't want to kick myself and be like,
Half found them, but I didn't do anything about it.
And
Correct.
you were kicking up strongly for Espiona, and you've just been to go on Sydney way. Is that correct?
correct.
Right.
Yep, tipped her
Just
first
wanted-
up.
just wanted you to say it,
ICN,
that's all.
Miles later the day, and I
Just wanted you to
picked
say
her.
it.
It was
Yeah,
good.
that was good. I like that.
Got that, Miles. All right. That's that. Let's get to Jackson Oldham here for Take On Me.
Take me on this week. We're going to Flemington. It's Newmarket Handicap Day, and I'm keen to lay one in the feature race. Race 7, number 15, In Secret. James Cummings, Jamie Carr. I think a lot of her place in this market is to do with A, the 51.5 kilos and J Carr, but also her spike rating and big win over, at this track and distance in the Coolmore last preparation. She's following a similar pattern this prep in terms of going from 1,400 metres back to the 1,200 here at Flemington, but when she was going 14 back to 12 in the Coolmore, she was 35 days between runs. She'd had a jump out at Flemington. This preparation, she's gone 2 weeks from the Light Fingers first up into her second up run, and then 2 weeks into this. She's missed the start now at her last 3. She wouldn't want to be doing that against these better horses here. I think she's just way too short off her ratings this preparation at $4.40. I'm going to put $1,000 up at $5.50 on Betfair. So that's race 7, number 15, In Secret, $1,000 at $5.50 if you're keen to play.
All right, Jacko against In Secret there. Guys, I want to ask you about reading markets, and obviously Betfair's the best place to read markets and find out information late on the markets. Great tool, Betfair Live. So log into Betfair Live, you've got all the tools there. You can look at the flux, the weight of money, percentage of firmers, drifters, whatever it may be. But how much emphasis, I'll start with you, Jules, do you put on markets, particularly late?
Oh, crucial. And it's especially important when you might have already had a bet early doors, but you're either going to go again or you want to possibly hedge because you need to get out of something because you're thinking something's off the map. So, if you've got a horse that you were happy to back at $6 or $7 and you see it out to $11, $12, it's telling you it's not there. And I know people can say, bet the drift, but betting the drift is going to send you under
More
a
times
bridge.
than not.
Absolutely. So there's ways you can bet the drift when it's fine, it's just marginal. But when it's a bigger drift, you've got to be really concerned about that.
Also got to know why it's drifting.
And correct, absolutely. So you've got to understand, is it map related? Is it because it's first up off 180 days and they haven't done any work with it? Blah, 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 did it parade poorly? All those kinds of things are important. But then conversely, obviously, when there's the hemorrhage and where's the big one? And sometimes if you're not on that horse, it is okay to have missed the early price. But if you really like it and you go, I just wanted to see a bit of market push for it, and you get the market push, then you double down because you get that last bit of piece of the puzzle that you've done all your form and you go, all I need to see now is just a bit of market intelligence for it. And if you can get that, then I think that's a great little thing you have in your back pocket to always do when you're punting.
I want to get a trainer's perspective on this, because have you taken horses to the races and seen your horses drift and wonder why? Or has that ever happened? Because I've been involved in horses that I've seen drift and I know the horses are flying. I'm like, it's paraded fine, everything seems fine, but there's a drift
Just from my experience, I had one at Werribee a few weeks ago that within the last 60 seconds went from about 5 into 360, and I had no idea why. And I got questioned afterwards, like, and the horse got vetted and everything like that. No, and it had none of mine either, let me tell you. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a Werribee on a Sunday, so I don't know if there was someone on course that thought it paraded well, and it was a horse that I only had it was my third run with it, so maybe they were going off that, some type of stat. But yeah, then I've seen horses of mine drift and win too, to be fair. So yeah, it's a one that's probably always I've wanted to know more about too, and where people are coming from with this, because I obviously keep a close eye on it. And yeah, I've had horses that have drifted and won, or walked away saying they knew something that I didn't know because it didn't go up to my expectations. So yeah, it's a really interesting one. I just want to ask you, Jules, say if a horse opens for a Saturday, it opens up yesterday afternoon, opens up 5s, smashed into 320, and then it drifts on the day back out to nearly 5s. Are you calling that a drift, or are you just think it's got back to where it's open?
No, it goes back to where it's
open. As long as it doesn't get out to $7, $8.
Yeah,
very good question.
Yeah, we speak about it a lot, is in essence on a Saturday when markets go up Wednesday, there's actually two markets that actually really happen. Wednesday to say pre 8 o'clock Saturday morning is where a lot of action happens, but it's not the volume you want.
And then nothing happens up until 10 minutes before.
Well, even it happens sort of from 9 o'clock onwards, then it becomes the second market. And then that's the real market, because then you've got everyone that can play in that market, including the real, every big punter in Australia can then play. And that's correct. That's the one you want to be taking account of. And I think it's very important for punters to understand is don't get sucked into the $5 into $3 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Because don't take $3 Friday.
Correct, because that's what people want to do. They go, oh, this thing's off the map. You're probably going to get back that $5.
Do you find that takes a very little amount for that to happen too?
Oh, it can. Yeah, it can. It's just a...
Depends who's doing it.
Yeah, correct, exactly. But it is just so important to not get sucked into that's the big move. The big move doesn't come until
late.
Actual game day. And really important to understand that, yes, it's the one market, but there's actually two markets working within it.
The point I raised earlier is why horses drift, and I do a lot of trial work and watch trials. The question you just asked, horses 5s into $3 might be based on trials, but then the data guys step in late and actually may have improved. There's a lot of things that I look at. If I see that and I'm keen on a horse and that's done that, I won't bet the $3, but if it firms further into $2.50, I'll have a bigger bet on it. But if it drifts back at a 5, I don't need to have as much. I'll still bet on it. So I just wait and see why. There's instances where you know it's going to map poorly anyway, but you're still happy to take a price, and the guys late might take it on because of the map, and you're still willing to do that and have something on. Just about knowing a price in your head, I guess, and working to that. There is the bet the drift. The trials often drift late.
Yeah, and they will. And knowing that is so important to say, you know, these horses off the trial or first starters or whatever they might be, will drift. The data teams will possibly take a set against, and that's fine. Do not get panicked about a horse being 4 out to 6 or 650 because it is a first starter. That's just the way the game works. Don't be worried about it. If you're worried about that, then you'll never back a winner. So they're the ones in particular that drift.
And then if they do stay rock solid.
Oh, well, that's a huge push because in essence, the data guys don't want to be with the raced horses. So they're saying they're more or less removing them from the market completely. So they're saying they're confirming your thoughts, even though it's not 6 into 420, it's holding its price at $6. That is great intel for the punter.
I'd rather have more on, knowing that everyone else is on it. At that
correct.
point.
And they're confirming your thoughts that you've done your job. And then the big guys are now confirming that, it's there from their perspective as well. And it's just it's actually a great feeling to have before the gates open, knowing I've done my job here. And you haven't done that because the result's not yours yet, but at least you've done everything
you can,
Sometimes I might have a small bet on a Wednesday and then go again 5-10 minutes out once you see the market in shape.
And then you get a bad steal.
Well, but that's what happens. And unfortunately, that's the results. You know, as I said, you can only control what you can control. But yeah, absolutely, definitely get bad steers and unlucky and all that kind of stuff. But that's part of the game. That's why we love it, don't we?
Exactly, that's right.
That is why we love
If we
it.
were all winning all the time, we wouldn't be doing it.
Oh yeah, wouldn't be here. We're on Miles.
Jeez, thanks for the.
No, I'll definitely come back.
All right, mate. Time for your best bet. Let's get to it. Best back,
Oh.
best lay bets. That is what we're here for. Which way?
Going to the last at Flemington, I think this horse has got plenty of ability. It's called Is It Me? It's only had 2 goes. One was at Penshurst, and then it went across to Adelaide, so it's not as if it's going to light up the page. There's just a couple of factors. It's just a big horse, so it needs a big track. Gate 1's not ideal, but Jamie Carr on the minimum against this kind of field, I think it could be an absolute massacre job. I really love this horse going forward. I think it could be a really good racehorse in the future. So I'm with Is It Me is my best. And in that 2-year-old race, the size produced at Melbourne, just against Vate or Vite or whatever it might
V8.
be. V8.
He's by Grunt.
No, it's V8.
He's
there
by
you go.
Grunt.
Awful.
Well, there you
name.
go.
Terry Bailey got that one right in his first start.
Did he? It's all
did.
That's
TB.
big from him.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
I was giving him a clap.
V8. 1 by 6.
Yeah.
But I just got nothing on the clock, so I'm happy to be opposed against it.
Yeah.
V8.
Fair enough. Reece, best.
My best, sticking with Miguel in secret in the big one in the Newmarket.
Take some of Jackson's money then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Jump on.
Yeah,
Go on.
no, I will for sure.
That's what
Thanks,
we're here
Jacko.
for.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So she's me best, and best lay is Dubinenko, or however you pronounce that,
Yeah.
the 2-year-old of Chris Beeggs in the size produce. So we're both against 2 in that. I just thought 1400. She'd been up for a little while. She looked unlucky in the Blue Dime, but she was held up and had a fast 200 on her late. So I'm happy to go against her.
I've had a few bets. I'm against Hope in Your Heart. I just think she's too short. I think she will drift. Hope in Your Heart there. Maybe lay her win in place. We did all right with our lays last week. Giga kick though. Mapped awkwardly, but unbelievable run.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sets up perfectly now for the TJ, doesn't he?
correct.
But that's the saying. He is a very good racehorse. It doesn't mean you win every race you are going to run in.
Correct.
It's an interesting one because we said about Animo, he was able to take it to the next level and almost be unbeatable because he was able to put himself in a spot. Do we ever think Giga Kick's going to be able to do that, or is he just going to have to be one of those horses that's sort of
I
stone
think
cold?
he can.
Yeah, and we'll find out probably in the TJ. So
Yeah,
if
I've
he-
just
if he
always
ca- if he
found he's
doesn't do it
always
ag- yeah.
overdone it.
Yeah.
You go back through. I'm hoping one day they get him to settle properly. Like even the other day, Craig was half having to come back, even last, off a decent enough tempo.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see when they do try and ride him a bit closer what happens.
Proper racehorse, real
Yeah.
line chaser. You love to see it. I found it hard to nail best bets. I like a Thelric, race 5, number 2, Rose Hill. I like the 2 Quicksand Tuzza, Tis Invincible, and I'm really keen to play in the Sky High. The 2 horses
Yep.
there, Sunshine Rising and Protagonist. I'll be having a little Tommy 2 play there. Boys, great show for Standard Saturday. It was
Yeah,
very
it's
good.
fun.
Work on your
Super
ladies.
Saturday.
Standard Saturday for Jules. Thanks for joining me. We'll be doing it all again next week.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Tommy.
Thanks for joining us on Layback with Betfair.
Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-858-858.